Thank you, Will, and good morning, everybody. I'm absolutely delighted to join you here in this absolutely stunning setting. I want to share with you a little bit, if we can just move forward. I've actually been in London for about a week. See a lot of familiar faces in the audience, and you know that I was out university hunting with my daughter, and we were able to host some of the some visitors from abroad. It's their first time in London, so we did a very nice walk along the South Bank up until because the London Eye and up. And we stopped for some fish and chips at a place called Salisbury Pub. It's just between Covent Garden and Leicester Square. And we saw this sign. And this sign is really aligned with what we're going to talk about today. So there are three hungry guys who really wanted to have some fish and chips. And we come to this pub and it says, "Our apologies. Due to unforeseen circumstances, our kitchen would be closed until this evening." Up until now, okay. This is unfortunately due to short staffing issues. Right? So they were, this is revenue lost because they couldn't hire the people in order to serve lunch. Right? And that's really the theme that we want to expand on today around work. Right? And it's clear to all of us that we really live and work in this extraordinary time. Right? The amount of change that's happening now, probably we haven't seen in not just a decade, but probably since World War II, and type of impacts, right? Some of this is the post-pandemic impact, some is the economic impact. Of course, you got the Russia-Ukraine issues that are impacting all of us and will through the winter. But essentially, the other things that have been really happening underneath our feet were started way before the pandemic. And think about the attitudinal changes with generations Y and Z and beyond coming into the workforce. Right? They don't want to do repetitive, boring work. Right? They want to feel fulfilled. They want to feel valued by their employers. They want to have an impact on their organizations. And if we look at, what some of the leading thought leaders have been saying, Gartner basically said that the future of work has been brought forward to today. And we're going to show you a little bit later on what that means and show you what it actually feels like and looks like and with these levels of disruption. So McKinsey was talking about a level of disruption and business change that we haven't seen in a generation. And the new Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, in his first speech last week, basically said that there is a profound economic crisis that's about to happen, and we're already in the midst of it. And so what we did, we engaged a company called Coleman Parks. They're an independent research company, and went and surveyed 1,300 respondents, 7 countries. We're going to break out the UK specific data, and you are the first in the world to see this. Okay, so we're going to share with you this survey, the data, and you can even download it right after the event. So let's explore what the attitudes that are in the market today around work, that the workers, that C-levels are telling us. So the first one was really around the post-pandemic impact. What does work look like today? What are the struggles, what are the challenges that you're seeing today with work? Right? And they said 74% are saying that attracting the right skills is more difficult. And you know this for yourselves. For all of you who are hiring people, you know how difficult it is to hire people, skilled people, into your workforce and have them engaged. 51% of the workforce are saying they're tired of doing these repetitive, boring, mundane, unfulfilling tasks. And 37% are saying that these two issues are directly impacting business productivity. So, can we fix this, please? Maybe there's a new one. Okay. So we've all seen this, this notion of the Great Resignation, right? We thought this was something 6 months ago. It's already done. All these people have left work and quit. In fact, 95% of executives are saying that they know today that their workers are out looking for new roles. And in the UK, more than any other country that we surveyed, 54% know that they're looking for work outside the current organization. So anybody who thought that the Great Resignation is over is due for a big surprise come January. So let's go to the next one. The next slide. Sorry, please bear with us. So the next slide really talks about the impact of this, right? And there's kind of two big trends that are happening in the workforce today. One is the Great Resignation, where you've got a whole bunch of people who are going to look for a new role. And the other one, which potentially is far worse, is quiet quitting, right? That you're doing the bare minimum in order to just survive in the organization. Okay, just go back one, please. So these are the business impacts of those trends that are happening in the workplace today. So this is going to affect every single company in the UK and in the 6 other countries that we surveyed. Reduced business productivity, slower company growth, and loss of revenue. Right? So if we don't fix these issues, our business is in for some pretty serious headwinds. And 1 in 4, so over 25%, are concerned about falling behind the competition. Now, if you go to the next slide, this could not come at a worse time for the UK economy, because globally, we've seen that, that productivity has been anemic for over 10 years, but this is a UK-specific slide that shows that productivity has flatlined since 2008. Okay, so this has been an ongoing trend that's just been exacerbated by the pandemic. Right? So what essentially is going on here is that your workers are telling you that work sucks. Okay? This is really profound. Work sucks in the way that it's being done today, in the types of tools that we're enabling workers to work with, and it's going to have a pretty dire impact on our bottom line. Okay? So we call this the work execution gap, right? And that gap is essentially between what workers want their work to be, what employers want the work to be, and the types of technology and the way that work actually is. And it has a price tag. McKinsey put the price tag on the types of wages that are associated with exactly these type of repetitive, boring works that can and should be automated at $2.3 trillion. It is a massive, massive, massive gap. And so at its heart, I just wanted to explore what it is, right? And so there's really two sides to this. There's the human and the digital, but I want to really focus on the people side of this, right? The human side of the gap, and understand what it is. And remember, this is that gap between what work is and what we really want it to be and what our workers want it to be. So let's explore the key issues. So if we look at the human gap, right? So this is really around the actual work that gets done, as opposed to the workers that want to feel fulfilled, right? So just want to hark back to that, right? So we've got a gap. There's no seamless sharing between IT developers, between the workers that do the work, and this is causing some of the frustration with the systems that exist today. And then if you look at your ability as executives in this room to have control over the operations, especially with a remote distributed workforce, you just don't have the tools to do it, let alone the insights. And then even more importantly, you're not harnessing what's coming out of the work processes, right? The data and the insights in order to actually improve the work. Because the way that invoices get processed, claims get adjudicated, hasn't changed in 20 years. And that's a big problem. And then on the system side, the types of applications that are being deployed are these monolithic systems, your ERP systems, your Guidewire, your CRM systems that aren't able to deliver the business outcomes. Right? So you've got the business outcomes that you want to deliver, customer services, customer service, payments, insurance premiums, collections, and then you've got the systems. And the reason that you put people in the middle there are because the systems couldn't automatically deliver those business outcomes. And today we've obviously got some incredible capabilities. With each one, we'll show you and showcase to you how we apply artificial intelligence and some of the modern capabilities of technology to harness the data that gets generated by that. So another part of the survey is really coming down to what is the problem? What are the core issues? Why hasn't this been solved already? And so these are the barriers to productivity. And this is what employees are telling you. It's too many repetitive tasks. It's demotivating, it's demoralizing, it's boring, I don't feel fulfilled, I don't feel like I'm contributing to the organization, I don't feel valued. And so it's no wonder why the great resignation and quiet quitting is happening under our feet. And so the implications are very dire and very massive. Right? This is around productivity, it's around competitiveness, it's around business impact in terms of revenues, and at the same time we've got inflation, so labor costs are rising, and we can't find the people to hire into our organization, so the people who are left are feeling burnt out, and on top of this, we've got those core issues in adopting AI and machine learning and the more intelligent parts of automation. So this is generally the part where as a software vendor, we pitch our wares, right? We'd say, we have a great solution for you, and here's a product that you should buy it tomorrow. I don't want to do that with you. I want to take you on a bit of a journey. I want you, if you could, just open your mind to a rethink of how fundamentally, how work can get done, how work gets executed. And I want to spend the next few minutes kind of exploring that. Right? So the data that we showed you is all going to be available to you. And we've worked with some of the organizations that you see here, really the ones who are really thinking about the workforce of the future. And we came up together with a framework that we call the work execution system. And this is what I really wanted to explore with you for the next few minutes. So please just open your mind to a new framework, a new way of thinking. So essentially, the foundation of a work execution system is not the technology. It's not the automation tools. It's part of it, but that's not all of it. It is the worker. It is the human in the middle. And essentially, we're going to look at how a new system can really help the worker align with digital capabilities to execute the work that they normally do. Right? So let's explore the 4 components of the work execution system. Right? So we've got where we want to start with is the human in the middle with capabilities to enable that worker to automate their own work, but even more importantly, to move from becoming a doer, where the invoices come in by email, or they get a stack of papers or insurance claims, and they have to process them in the underlying system and get that paid. And their prize for doing it is that they get to come in tomorrow and do exactly the same thing. So we need to change that. So essentially, we want to take that human and change their role, change their ability to go from a doer to a teacher. And this is the first area where we apply an area called machine learning. And each one will show you this working in one of our customers. And essentially, the idea is how the knowledge that exists within the human mind about how the work gets done and all the way that they handle exceptions can be captured by a digital coworker. And the point here is not that humans go away, right? That was the first attempt at automation, where the idea was you could either do something fully automated or fully manual, and there wasn't anything in the middle. The idea is that the role of the person changes, and they become a teacher of the technology, where the digital coworker can do 60, 70, 80% of the repetitive things that they do on a daily basis, but still you have human in the loop to manage those digital workers. So they go from a doer to a teacher. And then on top of that, we have the platform that enables this, an open ecosystem, which Bram will talk about. We'll make some very interesting announcements, and the ability to harness work metadata. So a framework called the work execution system that essentially can fundamentally change the type of rubbish work that gets done today. So the way we envision this is something that's going to evolve over time, right? Well, we're going to ask for some, we're going to make an offer available for some of you who want to go along with this journey and inform this journey. And I want to give you a short example of one of the evolutions of this work execution system, right? We talked about that worker role, right? So today they're a doer, right? They process invoices and insurance claims and change orders and so on. They do the work. So with the technology that exists on the platform, they become a trainer, right? So now they train these digital coworkers to do the repetitive, boring stuff that none of us want to do. And now they go off to another job and they kind of do the same thing. And then they start to think, wait a minute, these are very similar, right? The way that companies process invoices or claims or orders is very similar from one company to another. So goes from the worker goes from trainer to now a manager of digital bots that do a bunch of different things that are purpose built for those companies. And I say, you know what? What happens if I spin this off? Maybe I could create a company to do this type of work as a service and create a new economy around this where, based on the past knowledge, now you have these digital workers that can be deployed on demand and then deployed to do very specific, industry-specific tasks. So we envision this really morphing and changing and improving over time and ultimately developing a marketplace that today we have a project-based marketplace to go to digital workers and then this whole notion of on-demand work, right? A work operating system, if you will. And so the key issues and the gaps to close, right? We talk about the work execution gap between what we really want work to do and the tools we've given our workers and what we need it to be are here. Digital transformation skills. They don't exist in the marketplace yet. Right? They do to a small extent, but it doesn't mean that we have to take all our workers and create them and change them into data scientists. It's basically taking the knowledge that they have, the domain expertise, and then morphing it into something much more valuable to the organization and to themselves and to society as a whole. This disconnect between the human and digital work we'll explore a lot later, and the framework, which is really what we wanted to share with you today. So the impacts of all of this are quite profound. Right? We really want to change the way work gets done. On the organizational side, obviously there's monetary benefits, right? Our workers become more productive, more efficient, our customer service is higher, and so that part is clear. The business side is actually very clear, right? There's typically what we've seen is there's a 60 to 80% productivity gain within 2 to 3 months from deploying such a platform. So it's quick. But let's talk about the people. Those skills, the value add, the value they provide to you is going to be significantly higher. Right? And this obviously has societal impact beyond. Right? The other part is when you're able to have this combined human-digital workforce, you got a lot of data that comes out of it, which we're not using today. Right? Think about your organizations. Are you really leveraging the data that's coming out of your processes to improve? And so capturing this work metadata in order to create new models in a secure way where your data security is retained is incredibly valuable, possibly more valuable than any of the other three. And so the good news, if I can advance, the good news is that your colleagues are already doing this. So if we take a look, can you go to the next one? Okay. So if you take a look at what your colleagues are saying, they have 57% are planning to give their staff these digital assistants within the next 12 months. Right? So again, remember, we talked about Gartner saying the future of work is accelerated to today. This is happening. Right? And even though we have 50% of companies that have already started automation initiatives, almost 40% will continue to do so and continue to invest. All right, so here's what your colleagues are investing in. Areas around document processing, automation dashboards and benchmarkings. Remember, we talked about the data and analytics. The UI automation, which has been already in play for a few years. But machine learning algorithms and that integrated platform are really what we want to explore with you. So if you are open, here we go. If you are open to exploring with us this notion of really reinventing the way that work gets done in your organization, what we would like to offer you is a workshop, right? Which is, there's no charge to this workshop, but you take all that data, and we'll share with you is actually a lot more data that is in that study. We'll help you benchmark where you are against your industry and your peers, with some discovery questions that we've developed with some of our partners as well as the customers that we showed you before, and essentially come out with a clear plan on how you address this. Okay, so very much course of action. This workshop, again, can be done locally. We can do it by Zoom as you wish. Takes about an hour. And at the end of this, you come up with a gap analysis and a plan.